So for today, we will learn about JavaScript. Actually, we will learn about it in 2 weeks. So for today, we learn about the basic, and the next week we learn about more advanced thing. So JavaScript actually is like another language, another programming language. It has data type, function, operator, and so on. And today, actually, maybe we will learn like logic programming, but in another programming language, which is JavaScript. So for our topics today, the first is an introduction to basic concept of JavaScript, and the second topics about data types, operator, function in JavaScript, and the third, how to implement JavaScript in HTML. Okay, so maybe you are wonder why so many programming language that we are learning in making web, because like I say in the previous meeting, HTML is used for making structure of the page, and to make it look more beautiful, to give it a style, we need to using CSS. And if our page just the letter, sentence, information without any function, it must be not really useful, right? So to make it more useful, to make it more usable for user, we can add the functionality using JavaScript. Actually, we will learn about PHP too. So in making website, usually PHP is one of the core of the programming language. But besides that, there is also JavaScript that we can use it to make functionality. The difference is JavaScript is programming language that is client side. So what is different? Client side and server side. So if we talk about client side, the programming language will be executed in the web browser. So it will be faster because it's running in our web browser. Uh, Maybe you can imagine if we using PHP, the PHP is server side. So if I send a message or I send the data will be sent first to server, and the browser will be accepting the data from the server. So we need to wait the server to process it first. But when we using JavaScript, everything will be processed by browser. So it take it takes a shorter time to execute. To run JavaScript, we only need a text editor. So it's like that we have learned in the last week. You can using Notepad++ or maybe using VS Code or Sublime. So we just need a text editor and then web browser for running the JavaScript. Okay, so at the beginning of its development, actually JavaScript is used for to make interaction between user when we have form validation. Maybe I think everyone have tried to input something in the form and there is something like form validation before. So uh, uh, JavaScript at the first is used for validation form. So if we entering data, they can check is this empty or this column is required, or maybe this column must be in number, or must be in text, something like that. So it's for validating our data that we input in the form. Okay, like Google Form, maybe I think all of you have tried to input something in the form, or survey maybe. So if we using validation the form in the server side, it will be text time, like maybe user need to wait 1 minute. It's just too long. So to make it faster, everything will be processed just in the browser by JavaScript. But now JavaScript using for many things, like for animation to beautify web page, and we can also make a chat features, game, and many other. So maybe I will give you a short video about using CSS and JavaScript in a website. Okay, as you can see, like we can make a clock, we can make a calculator, and also we can give a more dramatic effect in our website if we can combine CSS and also JavaScript in our website. So your website will be more attractive. We can also make games actually, but I cannot find the example of making games in JavaScript. Maybe you can find by yourself. Okay, but in our course today, we won't make something like in the video, because for today we will learn about the JavaScript basic. So for today we will learn about how to make a variable, to make a function, so something basic like that. As first, how to using JavaScript in our website. Actually, it's similar with CSS. When you are using JavaScript, you can add the JavaScript inside your HTML file, or you can make external file. So this is the example. As you can see in the left, the JavaScript is put in the head. So if we CSS, usually we using text style, but for JavaScript, we always using text script. So you can see here, there is open text script and there is closing text. And then we can also put the script or JavaScript inside the body of the HTML like this. Usually, if we have many JavaScript, usually it put in the below. Usually, you can put it close to the closing tag of the body. Usually we use like that, but it also can put in the center or in the top of the body. It's okay. And the third example, like in the right, it is when we have external file. What is external file? So it's like the JavaScript. You like CSS, you have a CSS file, something like that. But in JavaScript, we have JavaScript file with the extension .js. If in CSS we have .css, and for JavaScript .js. Okay, if we have external file, how to link between your HTML file with the JavaScript external file. So to link it, you can put this in the head, and you can add tag script. So maybe in CSS, if we want to link it, we have tag link. But for JavaScript, if we want to link it, if we want to add the JavaScript, we always using just one tag, which is script tag. So you can see here, every JavaScript using script tag. Don't forget to make the opening tag and the closing tag. Okay, any question? It is clear? And then for the script, for the newest version, for the newer version of JavaScript, we just can write the script only like this. But for the older version, usually we can make it something like this. After script, we can write type. The type is text / JavaScript, and we can also add language JavaScript. But usually it for the older version, if you have older browser, maybe you need to add something like this. But if you always update your browser to the newest one, we can just write the script tag only like this, without type and without language. So it's actually there is no differences. We can just using script text. We can add type, we can add language, or we can add language and type. It has no effect if you have newest browser. It can run in your browser. You add the type and language, or you just using the script. Okay, so maybe I will give you an example about the JavaScript. You can see my notepad here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so for JavaScript, I can add it in the body, or I can also put it in the head. So it's okay. It doesn't matter you put it in on the body or in the head. It's okay. It's just optional. Okay. So for the JavaScript, you must add the script tag like this. For a complex completion, you can add type some like this, but you also can just using script like this. Okay. Okay, so this is our JavaScript. All inside the script is the JavaScript language. So like the CSS, JavaScript language is put inside the HTML tag or HTML element. Okay. Okay, like this. Maybe you see here there is document write and there is console log. So actually in JavaScript we can show or we can display the JavaScript programs in 4 ways. So the first is we can writing the JavaScript, or we can display the data from the JavaScript language inside the HTML element. If we want to put it inside the HTML element, this is the function that we must use. We must use inner HTML function. Or we can also put it in HTML, but usually if we using the second, if we have many text before and we reload it, usually the page will be replaced by our HTML. So if you want to replace the web page with your JavaScript program, you can using document.write function. Okay, so here I am using document write function to put this into HTML file into our web page. And the third is we can also put the JavaScript inside the alert box. Alert box is like when you open the Zoom meeting, usually there is pop-up that asks you to open in the Zoom meeting browser on in the application, something like that. So something like Zoom meeting pop-up is using JavaScript. So in JavaScript, we can give the pop-up something like that. If we want to put our JavaScript data or JavaScript program in the pop-up box or a dialog box like that, we are using window alert. We can using window alert function. So for example, in the next page, I will give you example too about make alert. And the fourth is we can also put the JavaScript data or JavaScript program to display it in the console browser. So if we display it in the console browser, we won't see it in our web page. So our web page, our HTML file will be clean, but if we want to see this, we must open our console browser. I will give you example. Okay, so this is our HTML with JavaScript. As you can see here, we have script here. So this is our JavaScript. For the first line here, I will display this sentence in document write. So if we use document write, it will be open in our HTML file. And for the second, this, we will open it in the console log. So it won't be shown in our HTML file or in our web page. Okay, so I will delete it first. We learn these two first. Okay, I will run it. Don't forget to open your MPP Apache, and then we can open it localhost and the name of the file is I'm sorry, I forget, is hello HTML. Okay. So if you see here, we have this, and this. We have three sentences. So let's we open the programs, the code. This is using H1 and this is just usual HTML element. So it will be showing here. And the second, hello, my name is. This is the this is the JavaScript and it showing in our HTML because we using document write. So document write will be show in your HTML. To showing in HTML, you can also using inner HTML. There is two options to open or to show your JavaScript in the web page. And the second, console log. As you can see here, the sentence that I write here not showing in this web page because it console log. And the third sentence that's showing here is learning JavaScript. It's just unusual HTML element. So where I can see the console, to see the console, I can doing right click in my web page, and then I can choose the inspect element here, and then it will be showing like that. If you want to see the console log, you can choose the console tab here. So this is it. It will be show here the console log. I am blah blah blah. I love study JavaScript showing here, but not in your web page. So it's like hidden hidden display. Okay, any question first?
None, mom.
Not yet. Understand? Okay, so for another way to display your JavaScript in the web page is using inner HTML. So what is inner HTML? Inner HTML when we have a tag and it has an ID or class, we can change this tag with something that we want to show in our JavaScript. So for example, like this is our JavaScript. We have document and then get element by ID. So this is used to choose what ID that we want to change. As you can see here, we have ID count. So next, this paragraph, this element will be showing that we have written in the JavaScript. And then after get element, don't forget to add inner HTML. So inner HTML is the function that we use to change tag or something inside our HTML file. So here I will give the operation 10 add by 100. So it must be the addition or the sum of this number will be shown in our p tag here. Any question? Are you confused with my explanation? No? Okay, if you don't have any question, I will try to run it. Okay, so so here actually this is the paragraph that we change. So actually the paragraph is just empty. It doesn't have anything here. So if I add this paragraph will be replaced by 110. The addition of 10 and 100. Okay, so this is the 3 ways to showing our JavaScript program in the HTML. The first is using document right to put it directly in our web page, and there is console log. We must open the console of the browser first, and the third is to using inner HTML with replacing our HTML tag that we have before, and it must be choose the ID first. So you must define the ID name, and then in the HTML, in the JavaScript, you must choose the ID of the HTML file that you want to replace. Okay, so this is the 3 ways, and the fourth I will move first in the next page. Okay, so actually for the third, it's dialog window. we have three methods or three ways to make dialog window. So dialog window is something like this, like the pop-up that will be showing when you are opening a web page. So there is alert, dialog window, and the second is confirm, and the third is the prompt. So this is the alert. The first one, when you see here, when using an alert, there is just one button. So there is just OK button here. But we using confirm, it will be show two button. So we can choose to click the OK or cancel. So for confirm, if you want to choose it, you must click OK, or if you didn't want to confirm, you can click the cancel. And the third is the prompt. It's a little bit different with the two previous. In the prompt, we must entering something, or we must input the data in the dialog. So for example, this is the prompt. The showing, please enter your name, and you can entering something. After you click OK, it can showing the data can show inside your HTML file. Okay, so this is three ways to showing your JavaScript data in the dialog window. I will give the example for the first. The first method is alert, like this. So it's a little bit different with the first. In the first JavaScript programs, I put the script inside the body, but for this alert, I put it inside the head. It's okay, it doesn't have any differences. You can put it in the head or in the body. So like this. And there is function. Actually, function is something like maybe you have learned about it before in the logic programming. So if we have a code that can be running for many times, usually we can put it in the function. So this is like this. We need to put it in the function. If we put in the head, okay, like this, and then alert. Alert is to making the alert, and inside the alert, like this, we can see there is sentence here. We can put it like this, the sentence after the alert. Okay, so this is the JavaScript. And then how to call or how to run this alert. To running it, we need to using word unload. Or okay, the unload is we put it in the body. So what is unload? Unload is to load the message or the alert when we open or when URL is the process. So when we load the web page, it will be showing first. Before we load the browser, it will be showing first. So we need to unload here. After unload, we can add the name of the function. Okay, so it will be like this. I will run it. Alert. Okay, so when we open our web page, it will be show first here, and we can click OK to close it because this alert just have one button. Okay, any question for alert?
None, ma'am.
None, ma'am.
None.
Okay, I can continue then. And the second way is confirm. Okay, I also have the example here. We will make confirm dialog. So this is the confirm, and it's also different with the alert. I put it in the body. Okay, so this is there is variable. I will explain it in the next section, but in this example also have a variable. So this is the variable. We have variable yes, and we call or we make the confirm dialog with typing confirm word like this. Okay, you can see here for alert I must adding alert here, and for confirm I must add something to here. Okay, and this is that sentence that will be show or display when the dialog or confirm dialog show. And then for the confirm here we have two buttons, okay and cancel. So okay is like you confirm it, and the cancel if you decline it. So we need to check first, have the user confirm or decline. So this is when we choose to confirm yes. If user choose OK button, we will showing this window location replace is actually like href, or when you make a link in the HTML, it will be showing another web page. But in the JavaScript, you can using this code window location replace and the link here. And else is used when the user choose the cancel button. So if user choose the cancel button, we will showing this. Okay, I also will demo it. Okay, so this is the confirm dialog that we have make in the code, JavaScript code. As you see here, we have two button. The first is OK and the second is cancel. So OK, if I choose it or I confirm it, do you want to learn JavaScript? Okay. So if OK, I will redirect to a web page that gives tutorial about JavaScript. Okay. And I will try. If I choose the cancel, do you want to learn JavaScript? Cancel. I don't want to learn it. And when we choose the cancel, so we not confirm it. So we will run this log code. So if we choose cancel, okay, you can stay here. So the JavaScript will display sentence in the document or in the HTML file with this sentence. Okay, this is the confirm. And the third is the prompt. Okay, the third is the prompt. What is a prompt? Prompt is when we have something that we must do input. Usually it also easy to make, like confirm and alert. You must add this code. So I have prompt here. This is variable. We have variable name. So why we must give the variable. So the variable will be saved. So the data, so the data that we input in the prompt will be saved in our variable. For example, here the prompt will be showing what is your name, and then you must give your name, the data, you input something. So the word that you input, the data that you input will be saved in the variable name. And then we can show it in the HTML file like this, and we show it by typing the name of the variable. Okay, so after the input saved in this variable, to showing the input, we can write the name of the variable. Okay, maybe user, I will try another. Okay, like this. The name will be saved in the variable name user, and then to showing the input, I can write the variable here. Okay, I will try this. Prompt. Okay, it showing what is your name, and then I can put my name here, for example, and I will choose OK to send the input into the next step. Okay, so it will be showing here something that I write will be shown there. How if I'm not, okay, if I not put anything here, hello null is the default value when we are not input anything or we don't have any data. Okay, so this is the example about dialog window. Okay, so for the next, I will explain it after you trying first in the job sheet. So you can open your job sheet first. So variable is like that you have learned in other programming language, maybe or in a logic programming. Usually we can save a value in the program using variable. Okay, so we have, if we have a data or we have a value, we want to save it, we must using variable first. Okay, in JavaScript, variable, if you want to make a variable, you can type the var, var, and then follow by the variable name. But to make variable name, there is some restriction or there is some requirement. To make variable name, you should not use number in front of them. So this is the example. I have 1, 2, 3 and the nama or name like this. You can do something like this. So if you want to make a variable, you can put the number in behind. So I can make variable like class 1, class 2, but not 1 class, 2 class. Okay, so the number must be put behind. And the second, we can also make a variable name using underscore in the beginning. So for example, underscore name, underscore class, underscore count. Okay, so you can to put the underscore before the name of the variable or the word. Okay, And it's recommended to use camel case to naming the variable when it consists of two syllables. So for example, I have full name. The full F in the front, I using the small case, and the name I use capital K. So for the second word or second syllables, I using capital. This is camel case. It actually it's not a must. It's not you is it just recommended. Yeah. Okay, so if you write full name with all the small case, it's okay, but it recommended by JavaScript to using camel case. And the fourth, it is recommended that the variable naming in English, actually it's also recommended, so it's not a must, but for naming, maybe it can be easier if you using name in English. So this is the example. For making a variable, you must write var in the front. After that, followed by the name of the variable. So the name of variable is title, and then we can give the value of the variable. So the value of the variable title is belajar. This is in Indonesia. The meaning is learning JavaScript programming. And for the second variable, I have variable name person, and the value is John Doe. And we can also writing like this. If we have many variable, we don't need to put var in the front every variable, but for the first variable only. So var person, after that followed by car name, price, like this. And we can also adding many value in the variable. For example, the third variable x, for x, we have value John, and we can add it using plus sign and space and do. So if we using like this, our value or our data that that is saved in the variable x is consists of John space do. Okay. Okay. After learning about variable, in every programming language, we also learn about data type. So usually every variable that we save, it has data type. In JavaScript, there are several data types. There is strings, integer or number, float for number that has decimal, and there is boolean that contain of true or false value, and also it can be object. So if we have object, in one object we can have many variables. So object is consist of several variables, and it also can be a data type. But in JavaScript, like we learned in variable before, as you can see, after variable there is name of the variable. We not we don't write the data type. So JavaScript is loosely typing. In loosely typing, we don't need to adding the data type when we initialize or when we are making a variable. And JavaScript can detect by themselves if we has put something value in that variable. So JavaScript can know what the data type of that variable. That's why we don't need to write the data type. Maybe you have learned about Java or C++. Like in Java, when we have a variable, usually we write integer, int, and then the name of variable, or maybe float the name of variables. In JavaScript, we don't need to doing something like that. And then, like in another programming language, we also using operator in JavaScript. There are many kind of operator, like arithmetic operator, assignment operator, arithmetic maybe that we usually use. As you can see here, the operator for arithmetic is plus, addition, subtraction, multiplication. So it's for counting the number, exponentiation, and division, modulus, increment, decrement. We can also adding string like in the variable txt here. In the left, you see that the value of the variable x and y is a number. So we can easily multiply x and y. But in the middle, the example in the middle, there is variable that have string data type. So we can also adding the string data type. Usually we don't using another uh, operator except addition for a string. So for string, if we have addition operator, it means that we combine some variable into one variable. So this is the example. The first is txt1 have John string, and the second have two string. And in the third variable, the txt3, we will add string the txt1 and with space and with txt2, like the example in variable before. Okay. And we also have assignment operator. Assignment operator this like this equal sign. So it usually to give a value of a variable. So for example, variable x equal to 5. So equation sign here, this is an assignment operator to give the value, to save the value inside a variable. And the third is relational or comparative. In relational or comparative, we can using more than sign, less than sign to compare several number or several variable. So that is relational operator. We also have logical operator. If you using logical, usually we are using or and or XOR, something like that. Bitwise and ternary. For bitwise, I think we are really using this, and for ternary too. You can learn by yourself, or you can write more about operator in other reference. And this is a function. So for function, function is a sub-programs that can be reused either within the program itself or in other programs. So if we have function, usually it will be called by another part of the programs. So this is the example. Like variable, when we using function, we must adding word function first or syntax function in the front. After that, we add the function name, and usually function have parameter. So what is parameter? Parameter is a value that will be received or that will be processed by that function. It can a function also can be have no parameter. So if we have no parameter, usually after the name of the function, it will be empty. Okay, I will give an example. So for something like this, if you see here, this is the function. The function is it has name say hello, and then after this is empty. So we add a bracket, but it's empty. If it's empty, this function has no parameter. So it's okay if the function has no parameter. Okay, so if the function has no parameter, we also didn't need to send anything to that function. If you see here, this is say hello. So to call this, I just adding the bracket 2 without any value inside the bracket. Okay. So this is the example of JavaScript. When this here I have a link. When I click this link, this uh, this link will call function that has name say hello. So when I click here, it will call say hello here. And how do I know when I click it will be run that function? So to make it run after I click, you say here I have syntax on click. So in syntax on click, when I click that, it will be running something, it will be doing something. In this case, it will be running function name say hello. And for another what I can say, this is an event. Okay, so in JavaScript we have event. This is even on click. When I have even on click, so I click first and then there is something happen. In another example that we already doing before, you see here, this is on load. This is also an event. If I load the web page, it will be doing something. In this case, it will be calling the message function. Okay, so do you understand about on click and on load about this event in JavaScript? Any question?
None, mom.
Okay, so I will run this function here. As you can see here, this is link. There is link here. When I click, it will be run JavaScript, or it will be run a function. I click this and it will be opening an alert. Okay, we can check in the code. Okay, it's true. When I click, it will be calling the function name say hello, and inside the function I will doing, or I will make an alert. This alert has hello word. Okay, okay, like this. So this is the example of the function. Another thing, function can be has a parameter like this. We can have many parameter, or we can also empty parameter like before. So usually parameter, we can put it inside the bracket after the function name. Okay, I will add some explanation too, that every function has this curly brace here to put the code inside that function. So I will give another example when a function has parameter. So for example, here I will adding parameter. Okay, in here maybe I have function count here, and this function count will showing number that I have add. The total is okay. So I want to count something here. So when I adding so if I want to count or I want to add number, I need to send the value or the number first. So here I will send to number. This is okay. You can change it with the function that we have, count. And here I will add two numbers. The first is, for example, 7, and the second number is 10. So when I send this number, it will be error in here because this function not receiving any number. So how to make this function receive my number? I must add the parameter. So I will add var1 here. And I have two number, right? So I have the parameter the second parameter like this. And then here I will add the total. I can sum parameter 1 and part 2. Okay, I will try first. I don't know if it will work or not. Okay, and then when I click, oh, I'm sorry, the total is not total is like this. Okay, let's try. Oh no. Okay, why it like this? Because this function look it as string. So maybe I will have another variable here, sum. The sum will adding part 1 and part 2 here, and in here I will showing the sum. Okay, have you understand why I make something like this? Any question?
None, ma'am.
Okay, I will try to run it again. Okay, so this is will add my number 10 and 7. The total is 17. If we want to have another number, maybe that I want to count, for example, 100 here. So I can also give another parameter here. And like this. Okay, we'll try again. Okay, so it will add the third parameter. So this is the function with parameter. If we don't have any parameter, like I have before, so we don't need adding any value or any data to when we call the function. Okay, so uh, you must know it when we have parameter. We also will send the value to fill this parameter. Okay, so that is function, and this is we will repeat about the old logic programming about branching. So when we have a condition that we must run or not, we can using branching in our programming code. So in JavaScript, like another programming language, we have several branch syntax. The first is if. What is if? If we using if, there will be a block of code to be executed. And we have else, if else usually, and in if and else, and if we using if and else, usually we have two condition. When the condition is true, we will running something, and when we choose the else or the false, there will be also another code that we can be run. And also else if we have many condition, so we use if, after that else if, after that we can also add else if, and the last we using else. Okay, so maybe there are example next, and we can also using switch. So when we using switch, usually we have many condition or we have many options that we can choose. If we have just one option, we can using if we have two, we can using if and else. If we have three or more, we can using if else if. But maybe we have 10 or 7, it will be a little bit difficult if we have else if like that, or if we have many values, so we can using switch. So switch for many alternative block of code to be executed. So this is if. I'm sorry, in my PowerPoint I don't replace with the English one, but you can see in your job sheet I have give the example in English. So if we make a flowchart, if we drawing a flowchart of the code, usually it draw with the diamond shape like this. Diamond shape, it means that there is option or there is condition. So this is the if. In English, it can be translated to are your shopping costs or are your shopping sum more than 100,000? If this yes, it will be run this block of code, and if not, we will continue to the next block of code. Okay, so that is if we just have one option. Yes, if not, it will be skipped. In if else, we have two option, yes or no. If yes, it will be running a block of code. If no, it will be running another block of code, and then we can continue to another block of code. So you can see the difference. If After we choose no, we directly execute the next code of program. But in if else, we execute another code of program, and after that we can run this log code. Okay, any question? I think you have trying to using else if in another course before that, before this. I'm right.
Yes, ma'am.
So I want to explain it many because I think you have learned this before. And this is the switch. In switch, usually we using switch with case. So switch is to define the option condition. Yeah, switch to define the condition, and the case is to define the option. So you in the switch case, usually we have many options. If we choose the case 1, there will be statement 1 to be executed. If we choose case 2, there is another statement. So we have so many options here. Usually after we define the code block or the statement that we will run or execute, we give break. So it must to add the break after the code block. Okay, we all use we are always adding break here in every case. And usually we also have a default. So when we are not choose anything, there will be a default value that will be shown, or there will be a code that will be executed. And we also have nested if. So if usually we call it if inside the if we have many options, but the option is inside another option. So we must choose first. After that, we give another. We will give the another option. After we choose, we can give another option. So option inside the option. And in the flow chart, you can see here, there is condition 1. Inside the condition 1, there is another condition that we can choose. And if we choose the false in condition 1, also we will give another condition. So this is the nested. Usually in the code, you can adding if else inside the if or inside the else. So inside the else there is if again. Inside the if you can also add if again. So you can have many if inside the if. Okay, so to make a branch in the JavaScript, usually it's same with another programming language. We can add the if, and then the condition that we must be choose, or that must be that can be continue if we have that condition. So this is the example. I have the variable name total. So in total, I will run prompt. In prompt, we will input the value. So the value will be saved in the total variable. After that, we will check the total variable, the value in the total variable. If it's more than 3000, it will be running a block of code. The block of code is here. So you can see here in our document, right? You can also adding the HTML tag. Okay, if the condition doesn't meet here, we will directly run this block program or this line program. Okay, I will run this. Okay, how much you spending in shopping? I will give 20. If I okay, it will be display thank you for shopping here. Because the condition doesn't meet this condition here, my total is just 20, not more than 3,000. If I try another with many zeros like this, okay, so this block of code will be executed. This block of code will be executed. And this is for the if else. You can also try this. It's already written in the job sheet. Okay. And in our prompt, we can add 2 prompt or maybe more than these 3. So you can input many value based on the prompt that show to you. We have 2 prompt here. Okay, I will try this. If else. Okay, it asks you to input the username. For example, I will input admin and then I will input the password. Okay, so it will be showing something like this. Sorry, here. Okay, so this is the example. I'm sorry, I think I make an error when make this. Okay, like this. And next, if we have switch, so this is the example of switch. We have the case here. When the number is same with the case here, we will run this block of code that same with the number that we have input. Okay, you also can try this. It's already in your job sheet, and we will add the default here. So if we not input anything, this code will be executed. Okay. And this is the nested if you see inside the if we have another if else. I think you have already understand about this. Any question about switch if else, about branching? No? Okay, next I will explaining about the looping. Loops will help us execute code that is iterative, how much we want. So if we have a block code that we want to run more than one, we want to run it many times, we can using loop. there is counted loop and there is uncounted loop. So in counted loop, usually we have known how many loop or how many iteration that we will run. But in uncounted loop, we don't have exactly number how many we will run this looping. Okay, so for counted loop, we have for each and repeat. Usually the syntax that we will use often is for each and repeat is rarely using, or maybe you can using for each for array. And for uncounted loop, there is while and while. So this is the example. I'm sorry, it's also in Indonesia. So for, this is the picture of people doing push up. So these people doing push up 10 times. If we have known he will push up for 10 times, so this is counted loop. He will doing first push up, second, third, fourth until 10. So we understand he will doing 10 push up from the first. But for a while, we don't know how many push up that he will do. So here, when I translate it to English, push up until bored or push up until tired. We cannot know how many times he tired or he bored. So the number that he will do push up, we still don't know. Maybe for the ones he can doing 10 push up, or for another people he can doing 100 push up, we don't know. So if we don't know, we can using while. Okay, so this is the example for. Usually in for we have three statements inside the brace of the for. There is first statement. Usually the first statement is the initial value or is initial number. And the second statement is the condition when this will be stopped. And in the third, usually we can add the increment or decrement here. So if I simulate it, text, the first is the number is 0, and then after I display 0, I will add the I with +1, so I know is 0 plus 1, and I put here is our I is still 1 less than 5. Because it's true, I will display this book of code again. So the number is 1 for now, and then I will doing increment. So I for now is 1 plus 1. This is 2, and then I will execute again the for, and I check again is that I is less than 5 because our I still 2, so it's true. And then I will showing again this sentence, the number is 2, and we can continue until the I is 5, because when the I is 5, it's not meet the condition, so we don't need to repeat this loop again. Okay, so this is the example of while. when in while, we will check the condition first. If it meets the condition, we will run the block of code. But in do while, we run the block of code first. After that, we have to check the condition. If the condition met, we after that we can run the block of code again. So there is a little differences between while and do while, because in while we run first, we check first and then we run block of code. In do while we run the block of code first. After that we will check the condition. So this is the example you see here. While in while we don't know how many loop or how many iteration that will be happen. We don't have the exact number. Here when I translate, are you want to repeat? So I can click OK for many times. So if, for example, here when I click OK 3 times and I click cancel, it will be showing looping have doing for 3 times. So when I click OK maybe for 100 times and then I click the cancel, the web page here will be showing that I have doing 100 times iteration. Okay, so thank you. This is the end of the explanation in my PowerPoint. Any questions?